Ever since Gunn and Safran took over the reins, they've been looking to switch up the way things run within the DCEU with a unique plan of their own making. If you're interested in a little behind the scenes of the new DC franchise, make sure to keep watching this video. First off, how does Gunn choose who to work with? James Gunn, the director of numerous movies, including Peacemaker, The Suicide Squad 2021, and Guardians of the Galaxy, has a long list of actors he says he'll never work with again. Gunn's one of the few directors whose work's been successful in both the Marvel and DC universes. Call him a superhero staple, if you will. During a Twitter Q&A, he stated that he usually keeps a long list of actors he'll never work with. Gunn tweeted, "Life's too short. Same if they're repeatedly very late, which I hate, or unprepared. I have a long list of actors, A-list and otherwise, I'll never work with for these reasons." Gunn doesn't hire individuals because he dislikes them. Instead, he does his due diligence to verify any rumors or stories about potential actors in order to determine whether they would be a suitable fit for his projects. It's challenging for the director to create a safe and enjoyable setting when someone's rude or difficult to deal with. He makes an effort to keep his sets upbeat with music so that everyone's in the same mood. Also, he emphasizes the distinction between being casual on set and caring little about the production, which he disapproves of, particularly concerning his performers. He says that different movies have different vibes. He's looser than he used to be and frequently changes things on set, which is very unlike him during the Volume 1 period. In addition, he points out that being prepared can take many different shapes. There's a distinction between that and not caring. What's more is that James Gunn has a list of celebs he won't work with ever again. Gunn reiterated his love and support for many of the actors he's previously worked with, and many of the actors he plans to work with in the future during the Twitter Q&A. The director tweeted that he always did his due diligence on actors and production heads with directors, actors, producers, and crew members. He added that he already knows which actors never even to consider casting. He refrains from hiring people that are irresponsible in terms of their work or just straight-up jerks. A few actors in the industry have developed a reputation for being difficult to work with, and most get away with it because of their name and fame. Gunn, on the other hand, appears to be doing the opposite and will hold everyone accountable for their actions, regardless of their place in Hollywood. He did say that if he fires an actor from his set, he'll make sure he pays them regardless of whether they're a big name in the industry or not, proving what a professional he is and is interested not only in the quality of the end product, but also in his relations within the industry. Gunn also clearly indicated recasting if the current cast simply isn't working. However, he clarified that he would do everything possible to make something work with an actor before recasting. But if it's performance-related and they're putting their all into it, I'll do everything on my end to make it work, further saying that he would only think of replacing them if it's clear that the quality of work will be negatively affected. It could happen even if they are talented and well-known actors, but just don't fit the role as he'd imagined. Next, let's look at James Gunn's favorite actors to work with. While Gunn will not reveal which actors he'll never work with, a Twitter user inquired about John Cena, stating that he bets Cena seems like the guy who's always on time. Gunn responded by praising the Peacemaker star, saying that he was and still is one of the best people to work with, always being prepared and on time and always kind to everyone. He went on to say that John and many of his regulars are among the actors he'd give his life to keep working with. He also spoke about Guardians of the Galaxy star Chris Pratt, who's been dubbed Hollywood's worst Chris. Gunn went on to deny the claim, stating that Chris is arguably nice to people and goes out of his way to help children. Chris, according to Gunn, is a particularly loving father, and there's a lot of stuff that people have simply made up about him, about his views, about who he is, about what he thinks of other people. Though Gunn has never explicitly named actors, it's safe to assume he has favorites and will continue to work with just the best of the best, who also happen to be great people. Next up, can the DCEU multiverse still work? When James Gunn took over as CEO of DC Studios, he stated that he and Peter Safran are working hard to ensure that future DC projects are done properly, with one big difference being that everything would be connected within the DCEU. And by everything, they mean everything, including television shows, streaming shows, video games, films, and everything in between. So, rather than focusing on standalone, big-budget pictures where only a few characters cross paths, they seek to have the stories all take place within the same universe. There are growing concerns that changing DC to this kind of storytelling may limit the narratives that DC can tell across the board, with some fear that plots for video games and side stories will suffer as a result. Others are concerned that DC will follow in the footsteps of the Star Wars sequels, which many fans of the original Star Wars films thought failed the franchise. franchise. There's hope that DC Comics' multiverse will help save it from stale stories, which Star Wars is lacking. The DCEU provides a wide range of characters and storylines to draw from, which can be effective in creating compelling and interesting films, series, games, and other entertainment to keep fans interested and enthusiastic. Let's learn more about how the DCEU is trying to make itself stand out next to the MCU. The MCU has done an outstanding job of creating a solid base universe in which the Avengers coexist with Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy, while also releasing films and shows that exist in their own bubbles, such as the Deadpool films and all of the animated Marvel releases. Fans of both franchises recognize the rivalry between the MCU and the DCEU, particularly how well the MCU has performed in comparison to the DCEU. It appears that DC is constantly attempting to catch up with, or even replicate the success of its competition. DC has taken a similar path, releasing movies that are linked together, such as Justice League and Batman v Superman, while also releasing video games, animated series, and films that are unrelated to the major features. While James Gunn has had tremendous success working with both Marvel and DC on films such as Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad reboot, he wants to make it clear that he'll not be applying the same formula he used in his Marvel films in his DC films in the future. Instead, he'll be trying to make DCEU its own new and original world. Not to mention, most fans trust James Gunn with the DCEU. Many fans were puzzled and upset when it was announced that many projects would be terminated due to the Warner Bros. Discovery Plus merger, with films like Batgirl being shelved, yet The Flash proceeding forward despite the controversies surrounding Ezra Miller. Putting James Gunn and Peter Safran in control of DC's future reignited interest in the franchise. The general reaction appears to have been largely positive, with many fans highlighting Gunn's passion for comic books and his great understanding of the DCEU characters. Others were quick to note that the success he brought to the MCU with the Guardians films may be transferred to DC Comics, with Gunn aware that he must approach DC differently than he did his MCU films. While the news pleased some fans, others were disappointed with the statement. Fans were quick to point out when Henry Cavill announced his return to the role of Superman. It should mean that Zack Snyder should get a crack at managing the DCEU, with some adopting the hashtag #RestoreTheSnyderverse to show their support for this opinion. Some fans have even suggested that James Gunn could bring back Zack Snyder to work on DC films, which has many on Twitter excited about what the future may hold for the reformed studio. Following up with why James Gunn is the best news the DCEU could have asked for. There are numerous explanations for why DC has struggled to compete with Marvel at the box office over the years, but the bottom line is that the corporation has become its own worst enemy. The DCEU never seems to have a clear direction or a consistent figure at the helm. Kevin Feige's vision and leadership abilities have benefited Marvel. In comparison, DC has gone through innumerable executives, with each company reorganization resulting in new leadership and yet another strategy pivot. It's getting to the point where any approach, good or bad, is preferred to DC's current situation. David Zaslav, president of Warner Bros. Discovery, wants a 10-year strategy for the DC film franchise, which involves finally charting a course and sticking to it for the long haul. Finally, how Gunn and Safran plan to co-run the franchise. Gunn will manage the creative side of things as co-CEO, while Safran, one of the driving forces behind the Conjuring and Aquaman films, will handle the business side. This new structure is more similar to Pixar's approach to filmmaking than to Marvel Studios, and we don't think anyone can argue that the Pixar model doesn't produce impressive outcomes. Gunn is certainly a director who's at home playing multiple management roles. He's a scriptwriter and director, as well as a really good musician. He's up for both big-budget blockbusters and quirky independent films. It's all too simple for DC to play it safe and continue making Batman and Wonder Woman movies. But in order to fully realize the possibilities of this shared universe, they need someone with Gunn's ability to think outside the box and bring back some excitement to the franchise. That's all for this video. Let us know in the comments what changes are you most excited to witness in the new year when it comes to the DCEU shakeup. That's it for now. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.